The casket will be put into this plane before making its flight to Washington, D.C. for a state funeral. This is a version of Air Force One that will take the body to the Capitol. Before that happens, though, there will be an enormous amount of ceremony, intricate ceremony that will take place on this tarmac, including a 21-gun salute. The casket will be walked down to the tune of Amazing Grace. There will be some other ceremonies here, and then we will see the casket loaded onto this version of Air Force One and taken to Washington, D.C., where Ronald Reagan's body will lie for 36 hours under the Capitol Rotunda for people to pay their respects. About 200,000 people expected to do that. We're going to continue our coverage of this and bring it to you live when the ceremonies here happen. Well, the Middle East and Iraq may have eclipsed the economic...
That military air base, they are awaiting the arrival of President Ronald Reagan's casket before it is to be flown to Washington for national memorial services.
There will be ceremonies here on this tarmac. We will hear no formal speeches, only music and a 21-gun salute from the Honor Guard. You can see them here now live, making their way toward the tarmac for the ceremonies that will send off the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, to one final journey to Washington, D.C.
Now, the family has requested that the news media, when these ceremonies actually begin, not have any commentary. So we're going to respect that. And we're not quite sure when the ceremony officially gets underway. Obviously, it would be with the arrival of the hearse that is carrying the former president, Ronald Reagan. His wife, Nancy, and family members, son and daughter, are with Nancy Reagan.
And as you look at these pictures here at Point Mugu in Washington, D.C., honor guards there have been practicing the route that they will take later today, carrying the body of the former president Ronald Reagan. Security really a major issue, a major national security event. Some concerned that terrorists may try to do something. Some significant precautions are being taken, as Ed Henry reports.
Military planes roar over the nation's capital to get ready for the 21-jet flyover. The real thing will feature the missing man maneuver. One jet shoots straight up and leaves the others behind. Precision is key to such an historic occasion. Just the 10th state funeral for an American president in history. Before the drama plays out before millions of people around the world, military personnel practice the somber duty of loading the casket onto a horse-drawn caisson. The procession will start at 6 p.m., with the caisson starting near the White House for its journey to the Capitol. 6 horses will tug the flag-draped coffin. A 7th horse will trail the caisson wearing an empty saddle with a pair of Reagan's own boots reversed in the stirrups. Planners say this indicates that the warrior will never ride again. The dress rehearsal also included the testing of the 21-gun salute. Once the casket reaches the west front of the Capitol, it will be walked up the grand entrance where Mr. Reagan was sworn into office. The casket will then be led up this set of stairs leading into the rotunda. The last state funeral for a president was for Lyndon Johnson in 1973. That drew 40,000 people. Officials here initially estimated that the Reagan state funeral could draw 100,000 people. Now they've upped it to 150,000. Other officials say it could climb even higher. Ed Henry, CNN, Capitol Hill.
Well, there's a little bit of a look at what is to come after these ceremonies. This is a live picture coming to us from Point Mugu in California, an air base where you see they're standing by a presidential aircraft. Now, this isn't Air Force One. It is only designated Air Force One when the president is aboard. This is being called SAM 28,000. SAM for Special Air Mission.
In just a few minutes, the ceremonies that will take place on the tarmac here before the plane departs for Andrews Air Force Base will take place. This ahead, or after rather, of 100,000 people really going to Ronald Reagan's presidential library and paying their respects, paying tribute to the former president. Jelly beans, his favorite snack, many of them piled outside along with notes of remembrance and flowers in Simi Valley in California. Many people waiting as much as 6 hours in traffic and in lines to view the closed casket for just 60 seconds. Many people here gathered on the tarmac to say farewell to their former chief.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more live coverage after this. Jet that will carry him to Washington for national memorial services on Friday.
There are hundreds of people there gathered on the tarmac to witness this event and the ceremonies. No formal speech anticipated, just music, a 21-gun salute as well. The media has been asked not to comment during the ceremony by the family. We're going to continue our coverage when we return. Stay with CNN.
Is coming. It is carrying the casket of former President Ronald Reagan to the Point Mugu Naval Air Station, where his casket will be placed aboard a presidential jet and flown to Andrews Air Force Base just outside Washington as national memorial services and ceremonies get underway this week for the 40th president of the United States, who passed away from complications from Alzheimer's disease over the weekend. He was 93 years of age. His family has requested that as these ceremonies go ahead, that there be no commentary by the news media.
Ceremonies themselves will be filled with pomp, with grandeur, with splendor. There have been elaborate and intricate plannings for the state funeral, very exhaustive as well. After the casket of the former president is loaded onto the plane going to Andrews Air Force Base, the body will lie in state under the Capitol Rotunda for 36 hours. There are more than 2,000 police officers in Washington that will line the route that the body will take. Jet fighters will also be flying in the missing man formation. We will see the first, though, of the ceremonies to be taking place on this tarmac at Point Mugu in a moment.
We're just waiting the final seconds, probably, before the ceremony gets underway. There's not going to be any speech, I don't believe, and we don't believe that there's going to be any prayers. There will be some music played, Hail to the Chief, Amazing Grace.
Hundreds of people have already gathered here on this tarmac to witness the occurrences we'll be seeing over the next few minutes. And already in Washington...
It's historic, Zane, because, you know, they haven't had a full state funeral like this for an ex-president in 30 years.
The last president, Lyndon B. Johnson, state funeral in January of 1973. That's 31 years ago. Already people in Washington have been gathering at the state rotunda. Some families arrived there, I believe, Jim, at 5 o'clock in the morning.
100,000 people, 106,000, I think we're being told, went to President Reagan's library to pay their final respects as he lay in state there. We expect more people than that. There will be dignitaries this evening in Washington in the Capitol Rotunda. The public will then later be allowed in under we must say this, very, very heavy security because of the number of world leaders, the number of U.S. national leaders, congressmen, senators that are going to be there. Very, very tight security.
Security officials are also planning to allow 5,000 mourners through each hour at the Capitol Rotunda. They're anticipating 200,000 mourners to come. The Capitol Police are saying, please go through very quickly and respectfully and don't stop at the casket when you pay your respects. Very tight security, and that's one of the measures that they're taking.
All right, we're going to watch this this ceremony. It's going to be brief, we believe. It is going to be simple and straightforward. Most of all, it is going to be dignified. Those are the wishes of the family. Nancy Reagan, very fiercely protective of Ronald Reagan during his final years. He announced that he had Alzheimer's disease in a letter 10 years ago.
Just to note here, Jim, that the aircraft taking President Reagan to Washington, D.C. is officially designated SAM 28,000. SAM stands for Special Air Mission, and the 28,000 is the tail number of the plane.
Just very, very slowly drawing up there, and we're expecting the honor guard to come forward. And Zane, I think this is just about the point where you and I turn down our microphones, and all of us can just witness this event. You heard there how the people who had gathered here at Point Mugu, Naval Air Station, applauded. Nancy Reagan, it looked with some difficulty climbing the top of the stairs to board this presidential jetliner that's going to carry the body of the former president back to Washington, D.C., along with the former First Lady. And she waved almost, it was really reminiscent of all the times that she and Ronald Reagan would fly together, and how many times they got on an aircraft from their ranch in Southern California, flying back to the White House over the period of the 8 years that he was president.
The family now boarding the plane that will make its way to Andrews Air Force Base in Washington for the state funeral and the ceremonies that will take place in the state capitol. 21 gun salutes, amazing grace being played here on the tarmac, military escorts, really represented by all of the men of the various areas of naval and military and marine units in the United States.
You know, Ronald Reagan, perhaps not the most popular president internationally. A lot of his policies, his confrontational attitude, the comments about the evil empire, describing the former Soviet Union, putting medium-range missiles into Europe, caused massive protests across the continent. His projection of U.S. military force and increase in military spending, the Star Wars project, all of it very, very controversial, but it was because of his watch that many say communism itself collapsed from within. You can look at the economic factors and say it was his defense deficits that really tripled during his years as president, that more or less forced the then Soviet Union to be unable to keep up, and that helped trigger the collapse of communism. But it was also ideological. Ronald Reagan said he would do a lot of things, and I think he surprised a lot of people when he did them. But it did not make him the most popular man overseas, no doubt about it.
Many of his opposers at the time now saying that whatever he said, whatever he did, one of the biggest problems that they had was that the man was just too likable, that he just connected with the people and connected with them.
I think we're going to see that when you get to Washington. I think you're going to see an outpouring. They're now predicting more than 150,000 people will turn out. We'll continue to follow it live.